All right, guys, welcome back to Jerk Block Talk. I'm Jason Fernandez. I'm here with my buddy Bryan Carl, better known as BK, here at CrossFit Rife. And if you guys are familiar with the gym, most of you guys have seen BK. He's an OG of ours, but give everybody a little background just so we have some context about who you are, and this will kind of roll into discussion for today.
Sounds good. Originally from Michigan, as you can see, Michigander. Grew up there, I guess a little sports background, played hockey growing up, travel regional levels, played soccer as well, typically same time of the year, so I was pretty much busy with sports all year round. Went to school at Michigan Tech as a mechanical engineer, came down because of the job, working at the shipyard, so working on submarines for the Navy, helping fix ships, and just kind of back in the area after taking some travels. And
yeah, Bryan went on like a, what was your
7 months?
7 month walkabout. He literally just quit his job and like went and just drove around the fucking country. So cool. And then you've been a member here for like more than 6 years ago.
February 2010 when it was GSS, and now it's CrossFit Rife. After that, we've moved 4 times.
Yeah. So, and I thought it was important because Bryan has kind of been here for all of the changes and the evolution of the gym, the membership. That's right. That's right. The green paint from painting those green walls back there.
Yes.
But he's been here for all of that evolution of the gym, of the coaching staff, and the way we do things. So 2 things we're going to kind of talk about. The first thing I want to talk about is I want to kind of circle back to what we talked about in a previous video about what is the purpose of an internship. And so Bryan, I was super stoked. Bryan wanted to come in, he wanted to do the internship. He came back and kind of was just in limbo as far as work. And he's like, dude, I want to get in on this. And I was like super stoked for it. And because he's been with us forever, like literally knows everybody. He's fucking 10-pound brain, obviously. He's a nuclear engineer and a really good athlete. So it was like a win-win for me as far as I was concerned. And then basically what we found out was like time. Yeah,
time commitment. I mean, it's actually it's the second time I've tried to do it. First time kind of similar scenario. Just life is kind of happening, and just feel like there's 1,000 things I could be doing with my time, and it's not that I don't want to spend time in the gym. It was just not working out in terms of what I should be doing. Obviously right now just trying to do a self business and remain compensated, and even though I want to come in here and help others in the gym, it was just a large time commitment up front that I just couldn't afford to do at this time.
Yeah.
And I also didn't want to sacrifice my own fun time being in here and making this my happy place and coming in and lifting weights and such. Obviously I didn't want to get to the point where it was like I was here too much and getting burned out. Yeah. And I felt like I was walking down that path before I even got started.
Yeah. And I think this is important, and I asked Bryan if it was okay to talk about this because this is a perfect example of like what the internship should be for, which is like I would love to have no other person than Bryan on the staff, but like sometimes like where the people are at in their lives, like timing, what's going on, like it just doesn't facilitate it. And the internship should be one of those things that just irons that out and makes that objective call, so then it wasn't like Bryan and I had this fucking like awkward moment. Now we just like, when we let it run its course, like we both just sat and were like, yeah, this isn't gonna fucking work, and we both just moved on because it just resolved itself. So yeah. And I think that's what it should be. So
yeah, I think I mean, just to sum it up, some things that I was looking forward to doing downstream, it just didn't seem like the right time for it. Obviously I can picture myself being in the gym at some point, and I like watching movement and helping people with movement, but it's just not right now.
Yeah, cool. So that actually kind of spins over to the second part of this conversation. I wanted to lead with that because that was important. But really, when Bryan and I talked, when we were here like really late the other night, just kind of shooting the shit and kind of talking about the internship and the evolution of the gym. And so Bryan comes from kind of the submarine force, which is very, very structured, but he's also an OG as far as CrossFit goes, almost 7.5, 8 years.
Yeah.
So most of you know that like things have changed within the CrossFit community, definitely from a business aspect, like we've changed how we do things, and it's not so much like just open the doors and fucking do whatever anymore. So we started talking about that, and I thought it was important because Bryan kind of brought up the structure piece of it.
The logistics and the structure definitely have changed over the years.
And you kind of brought it up that you thought it was too much, maybe.
Too much, but I mean, through discussion and everything, it makes perfect sense. I mean, I loved it during the times where we were doing Murph and Hero Watts in the middle of the weeks. Obviously, people were taking over an hour, and depending on the space and what other classes you got going on, it's just like it could have been. It was okay at the time, but now it just doesn't make sense because you don't have the space, you don't have the time to do that. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Obviously, coming from a time where you had dogs running around while people were stretching and stuff.
Yeah,
I loved it. I loved the kind of freelance, atmosphere that came with the box.
Yeah,
but through years and through some changes, and in fact on this trip, traveling across the country, dropping into other gyms, some gyms are still in that state, and it's surprising on some of the logistics that they just haven't figured out yet that I didn't think it was going to, but it annoyed me.
Yeah.
Where I'm coming in and I'm a pretty experienced guy, and I think I'm probably one of the easier clients because I just want to warm up, get a good workout in. I don't really care, so to speak, on too much coaching. I'd rather just get a good sweat on. When I'm having to look around and try to figure out what the hell is going on, with the warm up, there's a problem there. And I don't, it's like I would continue going to gyms because of the people there and the workout I know I'm going to get. But in terms of sending someone new there, fuck no.
Yeah.
Let's send them somewhere else because there is no attention to the new people and retaining those members. So there's obviously a need for some structure and kind of a skeleton, as we were talking about, in terms of just how things should run to make sure you're accounting for just like the small things that you would expect.
Yeah, and so that kind of led to a different discussion, which is, and I think this is important for everybody to know. So we've done a lot of videos on like, your timeline for your class, like what's a good session plan, the gym manual, and if you're OG and you're still kind of in that mindset, some people are just like, all these rules this is fucking nonsense. Like, and I get it because, I mean, anybody that knows me is like, I fucking hate rules, dude. Like, that was one of the big things that like got me in a lot of trouble in the military is I'm not gonna say I'm a non-conformist, but like, I don't like having structure thrown all over me. So if you guys have not read, and this is where this kind of all came full circle for me, if you guys have not read Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, I highly recommend that read because he explains it beautifully. So, and he explains it this way. So those guys are both team guys, and I've spent a lot of my time in the military working within the Spec Ops community doing support for those guys. And he explained it this way, and he goes, a lot of people look at SEAL teams, Navy EOD as kind of these kind of like fly by the seat of their pants guys, just kind of no fucking rules, they just do whatever, but that's actually not the case. And the way he explained it was, there's a reason they can do that, and they can do that because they do have so much structure, and it's almost counterintuitive, meaning like the more structure you have, the more flexible it allows you to be. And once you understand that, then it makes more and more sense to put more structure in place. And once we had this conversation, and you can ask any of the staff here, like we have kind of structure the way we do things, but like deviating from the plan is not frowned upon. The only thing that's really frowned upon is like if you don't get the result, meaning like the timeline is super screwed, you didn't get a good warm up. But outside of that, the structure is there as a guideline. And really what it is if there is a very, very good, solid foundation of structure within how you do what you do, what it allows you to do is deviate as much as you want, because now let's say that we have this defined set of rules for how we do the class. For instance, this is a perfect one. So let's say Bryan's on the coaching staff, and he's suddenly like 30 minutes before, he's like, I cannot come and coach my class, right? So if you don't have that protocol written out, like, this is a fucking Chinese fire drill, right? But if you have everything written down, and then everybody knows what the protocol is when that happens, like, nobody's gonna fucking call you when you're doing something else. Like, everybody just knows what the follow-on actions are, and it just resolves itself because you put that structure in place. So it's not that you have to have these set of rules that you can never fucking deviate from. It's you have a set of rules so that you can.
It gives you more flexibility.
It gives you more flexibility, and that's what I don't think people understand is, like, structure's not bad. It just gives you the ability to go in whatever direction you want based on the scenario that's given to you. And I think I don't know if that's your experience in the submarine force as well, but I know there's shitloads of structure there. So
yeah, I mean, just structure with it. If it was the job or the gym or anything, it just gives you a solid baseline to go forth from. In case that something does go wrong. I mean, submarine force, yeah, if we had a problem or something on the boat, I just knew that I was going to be a whole night ahead of just like going and talking
checklist,
to XYZ,
yep.
Tell them what they need to know, making sure everything's safe. And it was like almost, I mean, it's like, crap, we have a problem, but it was more just because I knew of all the things I was going to have to follow on.
Yeah.
So I wasn't not prepared for those scenarios.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think it was really cool for us to have that conversation, and very timely actually, because it made perfect sense. And then I was like, well, shit, that's really good content that we need to talk about, because a lot of the content we've been producing is it's very structured stuff. But again, that doesn't mean that you have to be like a fucking robot with a stick up your ass. It's just a template that you can maneuver and mold to whatever it is that you want to do, right? So it doesn't mean you can have no personality and you can't have fun and do all those things. It just means that, like, this is how we do business, man, and this is how we get to the objective. So
initially the structure kind of freaks you out, but it's like once you get used to it, it's just like anything else, and it allows you to kind of be fluid.
What I think it allows you to be you, right? It allows you to operate and be yourself within the confines of what the overall structure of the organization is. So I really thought this was a really good topic and some good content, which I wanted to have Bryan on, especially because he's been around forever. So especially in our gym, and he's like seen literally every single piece of the evolution of the gym.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's been interesting seeing the gym and the culture morph over the years, and I think it's in a good direction. I mean, there's obviously things that I do miss, but those times are kind of gone, and those times obviously created what we have here, and the need for some, hey, we need to make sure that we're going to be attentive to people that are new, that are injured, other things going on in the class. It can't just be chaos, otherwise people aren't going to come back.
Yeah.
It's just
I mean, because ultimately, it's the days of you build it and they will come are kind of gone.
Right.
And if you have, when more and more people are, realistically more and more people are seeking out CrossFit, like, you have to have some structure to be able to facilitate the BKs of the world with grandma who might walk in today, and like, if there's no structure and there's not no kind of set parameters for how to manage that scenario, like, that could turn into a shit show,
Just a thought, I mean, just being kind of an older dude in terms of being in the gym and such, like, yeah, I mean, there's some days, do I want to go through the progression of the deadlift? Do I want to go through the progression of the press? I just realized it's not for me specifically, it's a touch-up, but it's also for all these other people that are learning movements, and it's a courtesy there, so everybody's on the same page to move forward. You can't assume people's abilities. I mean, that's just going to cause problems.
Yeah, so I thought this was really good stuff, guys. I really wanted to get this out there, because I realized when we were having that conversation the other night that this is like something that you need to realize. If you're watching all this stuff and you're like, dude, these guys are so rigid, like, that's not the case. Like, we're super fluid here, but there is a lot of structure. Like, we've kind of written out and defined almost absolutely everything that we do here, but that's what allows me to leave, and that's what allows the staff to kind of do whatever they need to do when I'm not around, or so
just kind of thinking about that too, it's just like being around here so long, even though I'm not coaching or employed here, it's like just being a seasoned person here, it's always been an open door to, like, why do we do this? Like, is there a better way of doing this? And it just opens up discussion and perhaps the clarification of better ways of doing things.
I mean, that's not the first kind of, like, in-depth, Bryan and I have had, like, numerous conversations about coaching and things of that nature. So I think it's just been super good, but I think it's very valuable for you guys who are watching this, who are maybe on the fence about, you know, starting to get a little bit more structured in how you do business. You're not going to forfeit the culture of the gym. You're not going to forfeit, you know, a happy-go-lucky attitude and a good, good vibe in the gym. Like, none of that shit goes away. Like, that is the culture that you build. The structure just makes it a well-oiled machine and allows you to adapt to any scenario that can happen. So that's the value of structure. It's not that like you have to stay within the confines of this box. The value of structure is that it actually gives you the ability to adapt a lot more. So again, if you guys haven't read Extreme Ownership, I highly recommend it. It's a great read as far as leadership goes. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you have any questions about some of the other evolutions of the gym that we've done here over the course of the years, you know, it's been almost probably 7 years or so. Yeah. You know, please put that stuff in the comments. I'd be more than happy to answer that those questions. So thanks, guys. I appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Thanks, bro. Yes, sir. Boom.